Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating. We got our hands on a bunch of internal tech policy documents, and they describe this incredible, almost machine-like system for creating content. So we're going to do what we do best. We're going to reverse engineer it, take it apart piece by piece, and see what makes it tick.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How do you build a machine that can just churn out new innovations every single day using nothing but a strict set of rules and some raw data? That's what these documents lay out. We're going to treat this whole thing like we're disassembling a complex machine, figuring out how each gear and lever works together. Okay, so every machine needs a set of blueprints to work from, and this one is no exception. The entire system, everything it does, revolves around what the documents call core assets. You can think of these as the foundational designs, the really valuable stuff that the machine is built to innovate on. And here's a little peek at that portfolio. Now, the full list in the source has 13 of these patent-eligible assets, and they cover all sorts of things, from a voter-auditable election system all the way to a J2 smoke condensation chamber system. According to these docs, these aren't just ideas. They are the absolute crown jewels of the company's IP. And that is the absolute key here, their value. What these documents really hammer home is that these aren't just some notes on a whiteboard. Nope, they are formally documented, high-value intellectual property. And that tells you right away that one of the main jobs of this machine is probably to protect and leverage that IP very, very carefully. All right, so we've got the blueprints. We know what the machine works with, but how do you get it to actually do anything? Well, like any good machine, it needs a start button. And in this system, that button is actually a very specific command. This right here is the key that turns the engine over. A user has to type the exact phrase, daily innovation brief. The policy is super clear. If you add a comma, if you misspell something, if it's not a perfect match, nothing happens. This is our first big clue that we're dealing with an incredibly rigid and literal system. And you can see the whole chain reaction laid out right here. It's beautiful in a way. The user types that perfect trigger phrase. That immediately activates two core policies that govern the whole process. Then, the system grabs one of those valuable assets we just saw and uses a set of approved materials to generate something totally new. It's a completely automated, hands-off, policy-driven workflow. Now check this out. Here's another little gem from Policy G2P-001. Every single piece of content this machine creates has to come out with a tag, a policy score, and an artifact count. This tells you so much. It's not just about being creative, it's about creating things in a way that is measurable, documented, and proves compliance with the rules. Okay, so the machine has its blueprints and a start button. But what's it actually building with? What's the fuel for this engine? Well, as you've probably guessed by now, this machine is on a very, very strict diet. This list here, this is everything this system is allowed to touch. It can use the core assets, of course. It has a library of official documents, photos, videos, you name it. But look at that last one. Guidance from previous policy violations. Isn't that interesting? The system is literally designed to learn from its own mistakes, turning past errors into raw material to do better next time. And this is the big takeaway from that. It is a completely closed-loop system. Think of it like a walled garden. No Googling for information, no pulling in data from the outside world, nothing unapproved gets in. By controlling all the inputs so tightly, they can guarantee that everything that comes out is built from 100% pre-sanctioned material. So we have the blueprints, the start button, and the fuel. Now we get to maybe the most important part of the whole machine, the operating manual. These are the hard-coded safety rules that tell the machine exactly what it can, and more importantly, what it cannot do. Seeing the two core policies side by side like this is really illuminating. The do's are super specific, focus on betterment, only work on one asset at a time, only use approved stuff. But it's the don'ts where things get really restrictive. These rules completely lock down the entire process. Let's just pull this one quote out because it is so, so important. The system is designed to innovate on the content, but it is absolutely forbidden from innovating on the process. The rules are sacred, they're absolute, they can't be changed or improved by the machine itself. This ensures the machine's behavior is always predictable and always consistent. And here's the other side of that same coin. Not only is the process itself rigid,
It's also designed to be totally invisible. The final product, whether it's a video, a podcast, whatever, it should never give away any hint of the complex policy machinery that's humming away in the background. It's like the system is designed to hide its own tracks. So, after taking this whole thing apart, we have to ask the big question. Why? Why would anyone go to the trouble of building such a complex, restrictive, and controlling system just to create content? What is the end game here? Well, when you put all the pieces together, a few big reasons start to pop out. First and foremost, IP protection. This whole system is a fortress built around those core assets. Second, quality control. The strict rules guarantee a consistent, predictable standard every time. Third, scaling. This is a machine built for mass production. And finally, you have to think about risk. By using that closed loop of approved materials, it completely avoids any legal or brand safety nightmares from using unvetted stuff. And that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. On one hand, you could look at this as a brilliant engine, perfectly designed to create consistent, safe, high-quality content at an incredible scale. But on the other hand, does a system with this many guardrails, this many rules, ultimately become a cage that prevents a truly groundbreaking, unexpected idea from ever seeing the light of day? That's the fascinating trade-off at the very heart of this machine.